Today I'm in the not so glamorous location of Deeside Industrial Estate. I'm in zone 4 of 4 to be more accurate. It's a big, huge, sprawling site, employs about 10,000 people or thereabouts, and we're here today to talk about the new proposed station on the Wrexham Bidston line, which would just be behind me, which would possibly be called Deeside Parkway or something like that. I think the name is still up for discussion, but the station itself would be located close to some of the biggest employers on the site, like the shop and paper mill, Toyota and Great Bear Distribution and things like that, so it really would be an ideally suited site. There is currently a station already that serves this area roughly. It's called Harden Bridge, and it's just near the Tata Steel Works, just before the bridge which goes over the River Dee, but it's only served by a handful of trains a day, and it's not actually as close to the Deeside Industrial Estate as this station would be. So this station really would be a game changer, I think, for the area and for people who work there and for any future workers also. So I'm currently stood as close to the location of the new station, the proposed new station, as is possible to get. That road there, that's the A548, that takes traffic from the A494 from towards kind of the M56 downwards towards Connors Quay, over the Flintshire Bridge and that sort of direction. It also links 3 of the main industrial estates as well, so zone 2, 3 and 4 are all connected together via this main road here. Now the station itself would be, I don't think it's going to be about here, I think it would be just kind of down there. Let's see if I can just peer over that fence a little bit. So the station would be roughly about there, I think, and like I said before, it would be kind of easily accessible to some of the biggest employers in the area. You've got a road down here, which if we go down there a little bit would take us to the shot and paper mill. We'll take a little bit of a look at that in a second, but yeah, we've got a road down there, and obviously there's another road to the side of it. Now there was a proposal to actually put a road overbridge over the station connecting these 2 roads together, but that would have added a considerable amount to the bill, so that was kind of dropped early on. But yeah, this is where the station's going to be. Got some sleepers there because there have been track renewals going on. You can see the track just there, that has all recently been renewed through this area, and the track up from this, well, Burton up towards Bidston is currently undergoing a renewals programme. So I'll be running through the details of the proposed station shortly, but I just wanted to set the scene a little bit before I do that, just to show you why people think this is a good location for a new station that serves Deeside Industrial Estate. Behind me we've got Park Adford, which was recently commissioned a couple of years ago. That's basically an incinerator that's turning all the waste in North Wales into energy. It's not a huge employer, it's probably about 100 or thereabouts. This is probably the closest kind of facility that would be next to the station. And then just behind me, well, not just behind me, but a little way down there, we've got shot and paper mill, which is, again, it's probably about 200 people, but there are development plans currently afoot which would see that grow to potentially 850 people, so that could be a huge employer. So having a new station located here would be really important. I think it's probably about a 5-minute cycle ride, I'd say, to the entrance to, you know, for workers, or maybe a 10-minute walk. You know, it is going to be really close to the station. So you've got kind of 2 big, I'd say these are the 2 bigger employees. You've got other power stations and other facilities around here, but yeah, these are the facilities around zone 4 which would have access to the station, and we're going to nip over to zone 3 to see what sort of employers are around there. Just before we move on to zone 3, I thought I'd just take a quick look. I'm stood by UPM paper mill. I'm stood by the level crossing that used to connect the paper mill to the Wrexham Bidston line. It used to take wood trains. I'm not sure where they came from, but it used to serve for wood trains basically. But since the paper mill moved to 100% recyclable, then that rail connection really isn't as vital anymore. But what I wanted to show you quickly was just behind me, there's a huge development site. Now this is sat empty for years, but it does actually look like something's going on now. I couldn't find anything on Google to say if there was a proposed construction going to start here, but if anyone knows in the comments if something's going to be going here next to the paper mill. So that's the paper mill. And then behind me we've got a huge development site owned by Flintshire Council. It was owned by Flintshire Council, and it looks like there's all kinds of newt netting and stuff going on, so potentially another employer is going to be sprouting up in this location as well. We're at the other side of the railway station now. We're officially in zone 3. It's a little bit weird kind of going from one to the other. In order to get from zone 4 to zone 3 via vehicle, you have to go over the A548 there, which I have done, although there is provision for cycles and pedestrians, so you can get from one side to the other via bike or on foot, but there is no vehicle access, which is not the end of the world really. It would have been nice, I guess. Flintshire did have the idea of kind of building a road over a bridge more for buses than anything else, than cars and things like that, but it just would have been too costly for the limited benefits. So yeah, the pedestrian access is a little bit convoluted, so it's not really up to the standards for persons with reduced mobility. So the actual station itself will have to have lifts and stairs installed, even though there is that pedestrian access. It's just a little bit too far to be considered a PRM compliant access for all station. So the lifts and the stairs will add a little bit of extra cost to it, but they will make the station a fully compliant and accessible station. So just along the A548 there, you can see there's like a green fence, and then you've got this construction fencing here. There's actually a cycle route that runs alongside that wall, just right along there. It goes under the A548 and then goes down a little bit, and then it goes under the railway, and then it goes off to the Wirral via the cycle route there, and it also connects across there to Zone 4 as well. So there is that cycle provision. Yeah, but the actual for station passengers, they will use either the stairs or the lift, which will be just kind of roughly in this sort of location. Through this path, this road here, there is actually a high pressure gas main, I believe, which was found during some of the early works. So the station itself could have been located around this location, a bit closer to the A548, but they have had to move the station up somewhat just to kind of avoid that gas main. Obviously it's not good to build a station on top of a high pressure gas main, but it is made of a sufficient quality, I hear. So the station potentially would have had to have been kind of a few hundred meters in that sort of direction, but because of the quality of the gas main for the station, I guess the end of the platform will be just around where this, I'm assuming, level crossing used to be.
Although I was keen to stress how well situated the station would be, it should also be pointed out that there will be bus turnaround facilities, and it is intended as a shuttle bus will link the station to the other zone, so it really will be a well connected station, either via foot, by bike or by bus. As for the station itself, the first proposals for a station to serve Deeside Industrial Park were first investigated by Network Rail in 2009, but unfortunately the idea didn't really progress very far. It wasn't until 2015 when the Wrexham Bidston Rail Users Association put forward a proposal for a new station that the idea began to gain traction. The initial rough design that was drafted by the WBRUA of what was then coined Deeside Parkway was sent to Flintshire County Council, who took an interest in the idea. In around 2018, Transport for Wales took over the development of the proposals and have since been progressing the plans through what they call their plans for work, which is similar to Network Rail's GRIP process. In 2019, contracts were signed between TfW and Network Rail to begin the process of collecting asset information, which outlines which assets belong to Network Rail and which land would have to be acquired in order to build the station itself. Then in 2020, the proposals reached stage B, which is equivalent to GRIP 3, when this option selection took place. Two sites were initially investigated for the new station. They were the site proposed by the WBRUA and a site that sits closer to the Toyota plant, but eventually it was decided that the site outlined by the association would provide better vehicle and pedestrian access to the industrial park. Once the preferred location was selected, exploratory works were undertaken by ACON on behalf of TfW. Trenches were dug and boreholes were sunk to test the composition of the ground and check for any utilities which may be of concern. One potential stumbling block was identified early on, and that was the large diameter high pressure gas pipe that I mentioned earlier, but other than that, nothing else was found that would make the site unsuitable. So then in 2021 the proposals progressed through to stage C, which is equivalent to GRIP 4, during which time preliminary design works took place. The initial cost of the station, with a 200 space car park and a modern looking Network Rail beacon design station, would have been around £19 million. The road connection that I mentioned earlier was put forward by Flintshire County Council would have added an extra £12 million to the cost, so it's easy to see why that idea was dropped early on. The DfT has since asked for the cost to be brought down further to around £15 million through value engineering, which could see less car parking and a more modest station design, but that would still feature stairs and lifts. That was the last update that I'm aware of from Transport Wales, so I'm assuming the plans are still progressing through Stage C. The only other news is that funding is currently being sought through a levelling up bid, which is also seeking funding to improve access to the Padswood cement works, as currently freight trains coming in and out of the cement works have to travel to Demarsh Junction before heading back south to either enter the plant or travel south to their destination. This movement, which blocks the line for almost an hour, has caused issues with the proposed half-hourly passenger service that was supposed to be introduced in December last year but was later put back to May this year before being, well, in effect cancelled indefinitely, or until the Office for Road and Rail has made a decision on whether or not the plans can actually go ahead for that half-hourly passenger service. Personally, I think the new station is a no-brainer and shouldn't be subject to funding through a levelling up bid. The DfT should just be funding this station without question, I feel anyway. If the funding can be agreed, however, the station could be open by 2025 if the current plans for works process continues to progress. The only other subject that is up for debate is the name. Deeside Parkway was coined by the WBRUA as it was thought that people who currently drive from the direction of Connors Quay along the A550 to Hooton, catch Merseyrail service to Liverpool, may instead choose to use the new station, which will be just a short drive across the Flintshire Bridge from Connors Quay. However, Parkway station seems to be falling a little bit out of favour recently, so the station may yet end up with a completely different name altogether. Either way, the station should be built, and it should be built as soon as possible, in my opinion. So there we are, that's just a little bit of background information about the proposed station. I'm sure I'll keep you up to date if I hear any news about the station and about the half-hourly service, but that's it for today. If you found this video informative, please do hit that like button, it really would mean a lot, or consider dropping a comment or even subscribing, that would also be appreciated. But I'm going to leave it there for today. Say until next time, bye bye.